Most people don't realize that the majority of your tennis mistakes, they're not swing related problems. In most cases, they're positioning problems, and positioning is movement. So if your child is doing the technique, but the ball still just goes everywhere, then this is usually why.
Welcome to the Smart Tennis Podcast, where we uncover how players got started, the training secrets that shaped them, and the life lessons they learned along the way.
So today we're talking about one of the most important ideas in tennis, and that is the better we move, the better we play. You see, tennis is a game of fighting physically for one spot on the court, and that is the contact point. And this contact point is always changing, and it's literally where the strings meet the ball. And this is the number one thing that will determine where the ball is going to go. So if it's a little bit off, you'll see the ball will have a huge result going someplace else. And you'll notice if you have perfect contact point, the ball will likely go where you want it to go. But if it's even just a little bit off, that's when the errors begin to fly and you lose control. So once you understand this, tennis becomes this really fun chess match of physicality and movement. And basically, how can I keep the ball out of my player's contact point while also constantly getting better at finding mine? And that's why movement isn't optional. It is the foundation of good tennis. Unfortunately, though, a lot of kids are taught tennis backwards. They're taught to stand still, standing in line. They take this giant swing and they're encouraged to hit the ball, just smack it. But the reality is teaching the swing isn't the hard part. It's actually very simple. The more difficult part is teaching kids how to move into position in order to use that swing. It's undeniable that if kids get better at getting into position to make contact with the ball, they're going to play better tennis. And that's why with a smart tennis method, we really encourage focusing on movement first, while also teaching kids strategy, movement, angles, rallying, and technique all in one. And so we're going to go over some tips and suggestions that we would do to introduce tennis fundamentals to kids following the smart tennis method. So we're going to start with the most basic for really young children and then scale as we go. So the first thing I would recommend is to start with a balloon. And it's just a balloon that you would blow up yourself and you would pass it back and forth. My 3-year-old son calls this game Keepy Uppy. And it's a really great game to help kids learn just the basic foundation of how to play tennis. And so I would do this in a living room or inside with no wind. And basically the goal is to keep the balloon up in the air. While doing this, I want to challenge you to watch your child and see if their eyes are tracking the balloon. Watch how their hands are moving and helping them track as well. And then hopefully their feet are making small adjustments to help get their body underneath the balloon to help them either catch or lightly bounce it up to keep the balloon in the air. To break this down, these are the fundamentals of playing tennis and playing tennis well. Basically, you're tracking the ball while it's in air. You're making little tiny steps or giant steps, depending on how far away it is, and then smaller steps to get balanced. Then your eyes help connect it to your hands, and then rinse and repeat. You do it again and again and again. So a simple game like this is an incredible way to help build the athletic foundation where they're learning how to move, balance, track, and control where the ball goes, or the balloon goes in this case. Scaling from there, the next game that I really love is a game we call pocket toss. So pocket toss is played with a soccer ball or basketball size ball that's light enough to bounce. And basically you hold it to the side below your pocket and then you toss. And then the other player has to let it bounce before they catch it. They repeat that pattern. So to the side below your pocket, toss, bounce, catch, toss, bounce, catch. And if anybody breaks that pattern, they give the point to the other person. We typically play this game with some sort of boundary lines drawn. You could use chalk, draw it in the driveway, and you have a space, they have a space. And basically, you're tossing the ball into their space, they're tossing the ball into your space. And by doing it this way, it's not only a great way for kids to learn how to track and move and develop that movement, but they can also start to learn the context of how to play tennis by looking for open space and developing some strategy. They're also learning the movement portion. They're also learning the value of hitting angles or tossing angles to the other person to make them move more. You're constantly going to be rallying back and forth, and you're going to be learning some technique. And just to go into detail here, the technique would be if I take a basketball and I hold it to the side below my pocket, I'm already learning how to rotate my core unit and turn like you would on a forehand or a backhand. By holding it below my pocket, I'm getting this natural low to high movement or transfer of energy. And by going from my back foot to my front foot, kids will naturally learn how to transfer their weight towards their target. So it's like a rocking chair type effect. And you'll see them naturally learn how to shift and transfer their weight forward and in a really intuitive way that is like how professionals hit power on their forehand and backhands. So once again, hold it to the side below your pocket, toss, bounce, catch, toss, bounce, catch. I throw it to your space, you throw it to my space. Anybody breaks that pattern, you give the point to the other person. This is a great way to introduce how to keep score in tennis and the actual rules of tennis as well. If you're ready to level up pocket toss, you can play the exact same game with a medicine ball. And now you're getting used to the movement pattern, but you're also getting some strength, stability, and some body control built in. So a quick coaching note with this, though, you want to make sure that the medicine ball is heavy enough to where, there's some weight to it and they have to use their core to be able to hold it to the side and toss. But you also want to make sure that it's not so heavy that if they were to catch it too far away from their body, that it's going to like really pull them down quickly and risk injury for like the low back or shoulder pain. So you don't want it weighing them down too much. So they should be able to comfortably be able to hold it to the side about shoulder high, but also not so light to where it's not pulling at all. So you want their core to be engaged while doing this. What I like about playing with the medicine ball is because of the weight of the ball, it actually encourages better movement and better preparation before the catch. And so if you can imagine, if I catch the ball too far away, it's going to pull me down. And so players and kids will intuitively pick this up. And what they'll do is they'll actually start getting their body in a better position. So that when they catch, they have like the rest of their core to help support the weight, which also goes really easily down into that below your pocket. So it's like helping them not only get into position, step out to the ball with an open stance, but also learn how to load their body and coil up to be able to send it towards their target. And this loading and coiling is very similar to how the best players in the world hit their forehand and backhand ground strokes. So it's a real intuitive way for kids and players to be able to feel what that coil and balance and load should feel like before accelerating up, using the legs to create energy and send it away towards your target. Now, this next one is a big one, and most people overlook this because it just seems so simple. And it's basically a game of catch. And what this does is not only does it develop the tracking and the movement and the positioning, but here's the biggest reason. You would be surprised at how many kids these days stink at throwing overhand. And if they don't know how to do a basic throw, they're probably not going to be great servers. So here's how I like to do this. When you're playing catch, first you want to warm up nice and close, and you want to get to a point where you can throw the ball overhanded in a controlled way to your partner, and the goal is to be able to do it 10 times in a row. Now, once you get your 10 in a row, then both players will take a couple of steps back and try to repeat the challenge. So we're trying to throw towards a target with purpose and control 10 times back and forth. So I'm stepping, I'm throwing, and I'm getting my overhead throw mechanics down. And then the other player who's receiving is going to move, get into position, catch the ball, and then repeat. They're going to step, throw to you. And as you do this, you reach your goal, you scale back a couple of steps, 10 again, scale back a couple of steps, and the challenge would be how far away can you and your partner get in a 5-minute span or a 10-minute span. This allows both players to build the foundation and the fundamentals and then scale as their levels grow. And a little bonus tip, which is one that I like a lot, it's probably more on the I don't want to say advanced, but it's more like an intermediate, a kid that can move relatively well, is I like to toss a Frisbee. I think it does a great job in developing movement. And the reason I like it isn't necessarily like the turning and the sending, although there is some benefits, I guess, to the sending it towards your target. You have to be very aware of what your hands are doing. But what I really love about tossing a Frisbee for movement is the trajectory and the flight of a Frisbee is it's mostly predictable, but it also will have some dynamic changes and swings to it. So it really forces kids to like keep their feet moving. They might anticipate the trajectory, and then all of a sudden that Frisbee turns a little bit, or gets on the other side, and you have to make quick little adjustment steps to maneuver to get to the Frisbee. So I think it really helps develop the anticipation and being able to track and move in a great way. And it also is just a lot of fun. So it's like getting out and cross training and working on a player's movement, but in a way that's not like just tedious and like just unfun for a kid to do. Most kids will enjoy tossing a Frisbee if they're having some success. My last piece of advice for any of this is to always keep it light and keep it fun. The moment things get too difficult, especially for younger kids, they're just going to shut down. You'll see that fight or flight kick in, and they're just like, nah, nope, I'm done. And if you see their body language doing this, just step away for a few minutes altogether, or significantly scale the challenge down so that it's more fun for them to do and they're having more success. As you play these games, you'll find that success will build confidence, and that confidence will make them want to keep playing and keep coming back. Consistent play is what makes kids improve. And if they're having fun, they're going to want to come back and do it more. And it doesn't matter what the game is. Ultimately, the better we move, the better we play. So anything you do that helps their movement and tracking will help their tennis game. And if you like this and it makes sense to you, we go into great detail on how you can introduce tennis for little to no cost, how you can practice tennis at home, and how you can help your kids learn world-class fundamentals in a way that's age-appropriate and fun. And we do all of this in our book, Smart Tennis Makes Smart Kids. And we also go into great detail on how you start slow and then scale those challenges out as their skill level improves. So if this is something that you found valuable, please give it a like, a thumbs up, and share it with another tennis family or somebody that you know that just loves the game of tennis and wants to keep improving.